A lot of coaches, myself included, we've all been there, often talk about what we do in terms of what people need, because it's what people should want if they knew everything that we know. Our clients don't know what we know. This is why they need to hire us. We need to talk to them in their language. We need to talk about what they want. Very, very important. So that's step one, having all of that, having a system to work all of that out and make sure everything is covered. So step two is the bravery and mindset side, and this is calming the subconscious. I'm your host, Tiffany G, an Australian business and mindset coach with 10 years experience in online marketing and the creator of the Business Bravery framework. I help coaches to be brave so you can sign more clients even if you hate marketing and sales feel icky. From signing your next paying clients through to launching that dream group coaching program, the Business Bravery framework helps you take bigger leaps without the mindset spirals. It's helped my clients double their investment in me, make thousands of dollars, and truly build their dream business. I am super excited to talk to you about the behind the scenes of my stress-free launch, the stress-free launch that had a major tech failure and was kind of what a lot of people might consider their nightmare scenario when it comes to thinking about launching, when you're thinking about all the things that could happen. And one of the things going wrong is, for me, it was white screen of doom. I couldn't open Zoom. Once I got onto the Zoom, the web version, I couldn't hear other people speaking. And when I like to teach, I like to be able to hear people speaking back to me. And yeah, it took me 20 minutes to actually get on. Like, we were 20 minutes late starting for a 1 hour thing. And yeah, I was so frazzled that when I did get something worked out, I said, look, guys, I need to reschedule. I'm really sorry, but I'm not in the zone. I'm not in like the way I want to feel, the energy and all that kind of stuff. If you believe in kind of law and attraction and manifestation and that kind of thing, then that energy and that kind of thing just it really makes a difference. It can make an impact. And for me in this situation, I usually used to just push myself through and just be like, no, 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 you said you were going to do the thing, push through, don't let fear hold you back, and that kind of thing. And this time I felt like it wasn't a thing about fear and it not being perfect. It was really just, hey, I'm super frazzled, and doing a valuable kind of teaching situation with the whole, hey, do you want to buy from me at the end of it? Like, let's not beat around the bush. Like, this is why we do the launches. It's in order to say, hey, I have something, I've given you some value. If you want to know about working with me, here's how we do that. Okay, this is what we do in a launch. This is why we take the whole situation of getting out there and saying, hey, look at me, I have something to help you, and that kind of thing. It is so that we can do some selling, right? Not in a bad way, not in a creepy way, not in a sleazy way, but just in a way of like, hey, I gave you amazing value. I helped you with some things. And if you want to know about working with me more, if that's of interest, then here's the offer. And it's really hard to do that when you're like completely frazzled and you've suddenly got 40 minutes to work with. And I could just imagine if I'd have moved through and like tried to push through like I would have done in the old days, it would have been, okay, teach what I can in 40 minutes. And yeah, they're just, yes. So what I did was I just said, hey, everybody, I'm going to reschedule. So that is all the details of the behind the scenes of a stress-free launch. No, just kidding. So what I'm going to talk about is like, now that you know like what what it looked like and what the nightmare scenario was, and just so you know, there was hours of trying to fix my computer afterwards, and I now have a whole new computer and we're living the dream life, guys. It is awesome. Okay, so it is awesome. And yeah, yes. So what I want to talk about is just the behind the scenes of how I had a stress-free launch just with the major tech failure, how I approached this launch differently, and how I managed to maintain the stress-free feeling despite this major tech failure and how I got through it. So I'm going to be talking a bit about the science of stress-free launches and like my whole approach to that and kind of why I even have this whole idea of stress-free launching. So just I guess in order for me to explain some of this, I guess you should maybe understand my background a little bit for those of you who maybe might be finding me for the first time and listening for the first time. Okay, sorry. If you, I should be removing these long pauses, but just in case I don't, I'm getting over the worst, like the worst kind of chest cold, and so I'm having to pause so that I can just cough. And I hope that this is not sounding too bad. We will see. If you listen to this, then clearly I thought it didn't sound too bad despite the fun times I've been having. But it's been weeks with this thing now, and yeah, we need to move on. So let me get into I was talking about, yes, understanding my background. So just understanding, I started in online marketing in 2011 and I started doing content and that kind of thing. I had day jobs. I worked for government organizations and nonprofits and higher education here in Australia. So I worked for government and all that kind of thing back in the past. However, I built my business on the side and I didn't start out with the intention of building business in marketing. I actually started out, I was doing photography and video for business owners, and that was a lot of fun. However, I found that I didn't enjoy the photography side. It took my passion and turning it into this thing for money. Just majority of what you're doing all the time is marketing. You're not doing I just wasn't having as much fun turning it into something that I earned money with, and I wanted to keep it more of a hobby. I still do video. I do a lot of video in my business and have done video stuff for clients from time to time and definitely editing and things like that. However, that what happened was I was in groups with people, and because I had the marketing day job, they'd be talking about, oh, I don't know how to find clients. And then I'd come up with 10 ideas in 2 minutes and say, hey, you could try any of these things. And they're, what? Oh, tell me more about that. And so basically, it was just following like what the people wanted from me, which was marketing stuff. So that's how I got into marketing. And then that led to consulting. And then it moved into more coaching because I found that I'm realizing this is a much longer explanation than maybe it needs to be, but I found that just giving people the answers in just, oh, here, they're like, give me a marketing strategy. Here's a marketing strategy. But because they maybe didn't have enough confidence or they couldn't see themselves as that new version of themselves. They didn't have the mindset side. They didn't often go out and implement, or if they did, it didn't get as good results. And then they'd come back and it's like, okay, let's try a different marketing strategy. Let's find something that fits you. But the mindset side, it's like my clients who had the mindset background and knew how to manage their mind through it, those were the clients who got the best result. And then I was like, oh, let's get into this mindset stuff, and it helped me phenomenally. And so that's how I ended up getting here. So, about 18 months or maybe nearly 2 years ago now, I was working as a launch coach and I was helping other coaches to launch after having some successful launches. And people said, hey, teach me how to do that. And I was like, okay, let's do this, and doing launches. However, my whole situation with launching, I have a love-hate relationship with launching, right? Or at least I did before I found like my stress-free approach. And I should say, like when I talk stress-free, obviously the way to have a 100% stress-free launch is don't launch, right? However, the benefits of launching you can miss out on, right? It can be a great way to connect with people, to really showcase who you are, give people a taste, give people a chance to get uh, a result from working with you like through the launch and helping them get some sort of small transformation, which can really showcase how you coach. And that can be harder to do when you're just like networking and talking to people one on one and, oh, let's get on a sales call and things like that. It's not quite the same as showcasing yourself through some kind of launch. So through like doing masterclasses or coaching or that kind of thing. And as I say this now, I realize I should have said at the beginning, hey, what am I talking about when I say a launch? That would have made sense. That was not in my dot points. Welcome to Tiff with a chest cold. Okay, I am moving forward despite that. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is how it is. So, what was I up to? Yes, my love-hate relationship with launching, in that, like, I love serving, I love connecting, and I love seeing people have these transformations in the launches. I especially love doing them for free, although that may not be the case forever, as just with time and everything, maybe there might be like a small price to be part of them in the future. However, the part of launching that I don't like is the part that is also 100% necessary. It's the part of it that's like, hey, look at me, I have something that can help you, and come along, and everybody be here, and it's the party, and join the party, and that kind of stuff. I don't enjoy that side of things as much, if that makes sense. And like, I mean, I enjoy it logically, but my subconscious, my brain and my body, they like, it just feels the fear. So what I mean by that is that the concept of getting out there and going, hey, look at me, let's do the thing, and all that kind of stuff, my brain and my body, like the subconscious, it translates that, sometimes the excitement, but also like it translates it as, hey, we're doing something different. Different is bad. Different can maybe end our lives, that kind of thing. And so, you know, we probably shouldn't do that. And so then that's when like everything gets tight in the body, and suddenly you start doing these little mini sabotages in the launch. So you maybe don't promote it as much, and the little voice that says, hey, don't say anything, and that kind of thing, like it comes up, and oh, people have heard this already, they don't need to hear it again today. And some of those little voices you can listen to, and then suddenly you're not promoting it as much, and then you don't get as many people to the class, and then you're kind of like, oh, why am I doing this launching thing? And it's just can be this thing where it's like your subconscious is trying to keep you safe, because in order to do a launch, you're working outside of your comfort zone. Even if you've launched before, it's going to trigger a little bit of this, right? So when I talk about stress-free launches, I'm talking about sort of reducing that stress by like 80 to 90%. Like, this is what I'm talking about and what feels meaningful for me. And if you're listening to this and you're still here, then hopefully it feels meaningful to you as well. And please, like, let me know. I know there's going to be a lot of people out in the world who will be like, hey, launching just has a certain amount of stress. I'm okay with that kind of stress. However, if you're like me and that kind of stress just seems to sabotage the results you get, then this is where stress-free launching, I think, has a lot of power. And this is what I'm super excited to be talking about. So, the looking at the science of stress-free launches, I say the word science loosely. I've written it here in my paper, and I'm looking at it going, past Tiff, what were you thinking? So I'm not a science person, so yeah, I should have just left that alone. But basically, when I talk about stress-free launches, I have a three-step process to stress-free launches, right? So step one is the a content framework that takes all of the stress of what do I put in the content, how do I get more people there, and it's kind of like a step-by-step type framework that you can tweak and adjust to you and that kind of thing. But it's like, hey, here's the things that people need to know in order to be here and to come along and that kind of thing. So things like, okay, what do they need to agree with in order to come along to the sessions? What's the transformation they're going to get in the sessions, not your program, the part you're paying, you're doing the sales for at the end, but the actual masterclass or the challenge or the free email series, whatever it is. What's the transformation from that? What's in it for them? And having some of that kind of stuff and making sure it aligns to what they want, not what they need. And a lot of coaches, myself included, we've all been there, often talk about what we do in terms of what people need, because it's what people should want if they knew everything that we know. our clients don't know what we know. This is why they need to hire us. We need to talk to them in their language. We need to talk about what they want. Very, very important. So that's step one, having all of that, having a system to work all of that out and make sure everything is covered, right? So step two is the bravery and mindset side, and this is calming the subconscious. Okay, sorry, calming the subconscious so that we can take action, so that it doesn't interpret a lot of these steps as being like, oh no, don't do that. You know, it's not safe for us to do that, even though you're just getting in front of a camera. You're not really going to be eaten by a mountain lion or something, right? So it's doing meditation, connecting with your future self every single day so that your brain and body can feel like the like feel like you've already done it, so it doesn't feel like it's something it needs to fight against. Okay, so it doesn't need to be worried about us doing new things because it feels like it's already happened. It's like, oh, that's part of who we are. It's already happened in the past. We can repeat this again, right? You know how your brain often wants to give you little pieces of advice and say, hey, you know, you've never had a six-figure business before, or you've never had a seven-figure business, or you've never had, you know, you've never made whatever money in your business. For example, the money one's an easy one. It could be you've never had this many clients before or some of that kind of thing. And it likes to sort of use your past as evidence of why you can't do things in the future because that's how it keeps you safe, right? And yet at some point you have to be able to like leave the safety of the cave and what's known and go out and do something because like you have to like, you know, from our caveman days, you'd have to go and eat. So and find something to eat. So then yeah, that's when like we have to do that sort of thing for launching, right? So the other part of doing the mindset is doing like the journaling and looking at the beliefs and the thoughts that are underlying some of that stuff and to work through those ahead of time so you kind of have like a plan before you even start the launch of like, hey, when my brain whispers to me that nobody's going to come to this and that I should just stop talking about it and save myself the rejection, pain, and humiliation, then what am I going to say to my brain in that moment? And so that I can keep taking action and moving forward. And what evidence can I find to tell my brain that it's wrong? Because not every thought that my brain has is true. Not every thought that my brain has is helpful. So this bravery and mindset, I know that it's the second step of my approach to stress-free launches, but it's kind of, it's like 80% of the game and it's 100% of the stress-free launch, I think. Okay, it's at least, sorry, I should say it's probably it's 80% of the game and it's probably 90% of the stress-free launch. And then you get, you know, 10% from the content framework. And then step three, which is having a simple launch plan. So not having 100 steps with, you know, a big team and all that kind of stuff. It's like, let's just simplify it until you get better at the showing up and everything. And then you can add in the complication later. So as an example, I've had launches that have been nothing but a date, time, and a Zoom link. And I mean, obviously, a couple of posts on social media to tell people about it, but you know, it wasn't any more complicated than that. It wasn't like complicated opt-ins and upsells and downsells and VIP levels and this and that and all this kind of thing that can just get very complicated. That's not to say that, you know, you don't have to do those if you're ready for them and that kind of thing. But my thing is like start simple, like you know, crawl before you can walk. Walk before you can crawl. No, crawl before you can walk. So that is some of what I'm talking about there. So uh so that's the three steps, having a, you know, like your marketing and messaging foundation. So having the content framework that takes all of that stress off you, having your bravery and mindset locked in, and then having your unique, like strategic launch plan and making it simple, making it easy, and having test runs in it, right? Love test runs. Test runs are so amazing. You can make so much money from a test run. You can make more money from a test run than the real launch because the minute you say test run, just think about how much just like you'll notice this whole level, like, oh, I'm going to launch. Like this heaviness can kind of come onto your shoulders and chest or something, or maybe somewhere else in your body, maybe in your stomach. And then when you go, hey, it's just a test run, it's just like, for me, all of this stuff just flies off my shoulders, and it's like, that makes it, yeah, it's way easier. So my plan for the stress-free launch that I was running, back to what I was doing in the behind the scenes, I had my simple plan was 3 days of 1 hour masterclasses, okay? Because I have three offers at different levels. So I help coaches at the very beginning to sign their first, two to three paying clients, or more if they happen, if they want. But basically, that whole let's get you paid coaching clients, like, you've just been certified or you've just made the decision to become a coach, let's get you the paying clients, let's get all of that involved. Then I have the next level, which is kind of in the intermediate of like, hey, you've got you've had some clients, now you're ready for consistent clients and you want a system that creates that. And we're going to make what you're doing simpler and more automated. So we do, we get you 6 clients in 4 months, right? That's my intermediate level. That's my accelerator level coaching, right? First one's the breakthrough. The second one is the accelerator, the Brave Coach Accelerator. Then the last one is this stress-free launching thing for coaches who are more advanced and who are ready to take on launching, right? Of course, everybody gets to decide where they're at and which level is the best for them. So yeah, I had 3 days of 1 hour masterclasses. Now, just so you know, it's a challenge for me to keep something short. As you can tell, this was supposed to be a 20-minute podcast, and I'm, yeah, coming up on that 20 minutes now. We are nearly done, so I anticipated this from myself, so here we go. I have some overflow time, we're all good. So the so my stress levels beforehand with this kind of situation was really good. Like, I was just having a lot of fun with my launch. I ran a test run beforehand. So my test run was doing these same 3 days, but in little lives on Instagram. So about 2 weeks beforehand, I did the lives on Instagram. And I did this in part because originally I was going to do my masterclasses in a different way, where it was going to be everybody shows up for 3 days and we do marketing and messaging on day one, bravery and mindset on day two, and then your strategic planning on day three. And all the levels come at once and I try and talk to all the levels. Thankfully, my coach came along with this amazing idea of like, hey, let's just give them the one class they need and that kind of thing. And this is kind of fun. Like, this is not something that I would suggest to somebody who is new to launching. However, for me, I have a lot of years in teaching, running these kinds of masterclasses, and a lot of my stuff is similar. It's tweaked at the different levels. It's like, here's the information you need. So it's like, hey, for beginners, you need the foundations, right? Here's the marketing foundations, the, who you help, how you help them, the transformation you provide. There's a bit more to it, but those are like the essential 3 questions. Let's answer those questions. You notice I don't talk a lot about niching and techie marketing terms because I think they confuse things. I think it can be much easier if it's just like, hey, who do I help? How do I help them? What's the transformation I provide? What's the before and after, right? That transformation. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. And then, in the intermediate class, it changes of like, okay, so now we're going to create you a memorable brand, and here's how we do that with the 3 steps. And the 3 steps are very similar, it's tweaked to that different level. That's how my 3 offers is kind of one offer. It's just like, here, let's tweak it to you, here's what you need, and that kind of thing. So yes, stress levels beforehand were not too bad. Right, like definitely compared to past launches where I just had a lot of like, if you can imagine like the roiling stomach of sorry if that's too much information, but if if you don't get it, then you probably wouldn't have stayed here this long anyway. But like, that whole stomach churning feeling of who's going to come? Will anybody come? And what if I don't make the money and all that kind of stuff? And just, I don't know, used to have a lot of my ego tied into how the launches went. And especially when I was a launch coach, I felt the stress to have good launches. And I still feel it quite a bit. It's like, people are like, hey, you teach launches. Let me see that your launch is awesome. And then, like, not every launch is awesome. Like, it's just, especially if you're repeating launches and things like that, like, even, and I've seen this, I've watched the guys at the top levels do their launches as well, and you see, and I've heard stories of them where it's like, hey, nothing has changed, but a launch can dip quite a bit. And there's a podcast I listened to where she was talking about how she didn't get enough new people in order to make the launch work. And it's like she'd been repeating this launch every 3 months for years, and on, like, we were in year 3 or something like that, and suddenly she didn't have enough new people in. The messaging had changed a bit. So then on day 1 we had the tech failure. But what I want to say about the stress-free launching is that I didn't immediately, like, old school Tiff would have launched into, oh my gosh, like, worrying about what other people were thinking, more than just focusing on, here's the problem, I need to solve it. So that whole, oh, what are they going to think, or nobody's going to show up, and I failed again, and how could I do this? And none of that was happening this time, which just shows how far I've come with doing the bravery and the mindset side of things, and how much it improved my launch. And I can't wait to do the next one, right? So this is why I'm really happy about that. And I'm also really happy, like I said, that I showed up and I said, hey, we need to reschedule, rather than just pushing through it. I know there's a lot of talk about integrity, authenticity, and keeping your word and that kind of thing. But I think that there's also the ability to say, hey, I need, like, here's what I need in this moment. Here's how I can look after my needs in this moment. And here's my boundaries. And you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. And, like, yeah, maybe people are disappointed, and maybe I lost some sales. However, I don't think I would have gotten those sales from trying to squeeze something into, like, that was supposed to be an hour, squeeze it into 40 minutes. I did get through the launch with less stress. I think that's what I meant. So there was way less stress through that, and handling the tech failure and just moving through it and just being like, okay, I, that I have to admit, there was a part of me that there was a little bit of like, oh, a small relief in that I didn't have to do the launch, like the masterclass, because of this tech failure. So there was a little bit of that, and I think there was a little bit of some perhaps not fun manifestation of some of that. However, my computer was really old. I'm surprised it hadn't happened before. And now I have a brand new computer, so I should be set for a number of years. So we're awesome. So yeah, but that's being human and just understanding that there can be a little bit of that. And yeah, but like I said, I got through it with way less stress, and I have all of these things in place, and I'm ready for the next launch. So my plan for future launches is, making them um, bigger. I wrote bigger launches. I think what I meant there was, like, I want to turn it into like 90-minute classes rather than the 60-minute. Felt like I was rushing things, and I like to be able to chat with people. Hey, what did you think about this? And just get that connection in between, and repeating what I've already done. At the moment, I have the recordings and they are available for people. And what I'm doing for the stress-free launch one is I'm doing like a 10-minute mini training, or it turned out to be 15 minutes. I tried to go for 10, made it 15. That's pretty good for me. And I did a 15-minute mini training, and that is yeah, like, available if you want to hear about that. And you've heard most of it here, but it's a bit more succinct and to the point, and it talks a little bit more about the content framework, the 3 steps. However, I think you've probably heard most of it here, to be honest. But if you are interested from a whole, this is the fun part about launching. A lot of people come to your launch because they want to see what you're doing so that they can see if oh, can I do that too? So if you wanted to download the training from that perspective, then definitely. So yeah, but that's behind the scenes of a stress-free launch with like 80% reduced stress. This is something else I forgot to say actually, is that another part of that stress-free launch was like, getting more sleep. The meditation really helped, and really just keeping my nervous system calm, that kind of thing through it, which is something that I have definitely struggled with in the past. And if I'd have known about the power of that all those years ago, but I only got into meditation in the last couple of years. So yeah, it's just it really had an effect on me, and it really shows me the power of this stress-free launching, and I can't wait to apply it to more of my future launches. If you are interested in, like, if you've gotten this far in the podcast, thank you so much for listening. If you are curious about stress-free launching, you are by all means welcome to book a free 60-minute call with me, and we can come up with your own stress-free launch plan, right? It's a free call, and we can come up with that plan so that you have some steps to move away with and actually apply this. Because I know, like, it's one thing to hear it and go, oh, that sounds interesting, but it's another thing of like, hey, how does this apply to me? Because everybody's a little bit different. We all run our businesses a bit differently, and we all have our own strengths. So yes, if that is something that you want to do, then by all means get in touch. Come find me over on Tiffany G Studios at Tiffany G Studios, Tiffany G for golf, Studios, over on Instagram, and just, let me know, and that you're interested in this kind of stuff. Also, if you've been listening and you just are inspired to create your own stress-free launch plan, it now feels possible, just let me know. I'd love to know that this landed for people and that you're interested in this kind of stuff, and that I can create more content, and that I'm not crazy in wanting to take the stress out of launching. I don't know, maybe other people don't feel it the same way as me, but yeah, I mean, it'd just be nice to know that I'm not crazy and that this lands with some people. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, that's it from me. Bye for now. Thanks for listening to the Business Bravery podcast. Has this episode inspired you to do something brave? Even if it's only send a difficult email, please share it with me on Instagram or other social media channels. Feel free to tag me at Tiffany G Studios. That's Tiffany G for golf, Studios, no spaces, no underscores, etc. Or you can use the hashtag Business Bravery Podcast so that I can cheer you on, and together we can inspire other coaches and course creators to do brave things in their business and life. Now, I'm Tiffany, and I'll leave you with this one last thing. What's one brave thing you're going to do today? It doesn't have to be big. Even the smallest steps can create the most massive results. So again, feel free to share it with me either publicly or privately so that I can cheer you on. That's it from me. Until next time, bye for now.